Garrett, your character enters the room that you have rented for the night. You look around the small inn room, notice the bed, the dresser, and so forth. As a ranger, though, you sense something. You smell something. You're accustomed to killing goblins, as that is your preferred uh, monster to hunt. You smell one. You notice it in the corner of the room, and it lunges at you, screaming, "Time to die. This is for my kin." What do you do?
Do I have time to pull out my bow?
No.
Shit. All right, let me stab it. Let me pull out my sword, stab it while it's lunging at me.
All right, I'm going to roll. Okay. You successfully pull your sword out, lunging it into the jumping goblin as it jumps at you. It slides through its gut, right through it. It grasping at you as it screams, dying. You hold it. It's dying. You're looking in its eyes, and you can see its life draining from its body. Blood pouring down its mouth, its bowels releasing. It pulls you in closer, like it wants to tell you something. Its last words are, "It's time for Neon Nightcast." Hello, I'm Michael Thrax, your DM for the Neon Nightcast podcast. I am joined with my two players, Garrett Zagri and Eric Dr. Soybean.
Thank you, Holland Manners.
All right. So I don't know if you've guessed it or not, but tonight's episode is about Dungeons and Dragons. We don't really have that much in mind. We're just kind of gonna talk, reminisce. You know, me and Eric are. I know I'm a seasoned player. I've been playing all my life. My brother, player and DM, and Garrett is relatively new to DM. D&D. Very little experience, my friend.
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of got Garrett into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've always wanted to play D&D, and you two were the only people I knew that had actually played it. So, we grabbed another friend. We all tried to have a campaign weekly. Some people didn't pull their weight in the DMing department, but, we'll talk about that later.
We'll get to that later. I mean,
well, we tried to resurrect it, and the other guy was like, "Oh, I wasn't feeling it, so fuck him."
Come on now.
That's a little harsh.
Yeah, some people, it's not for everyone,
Yeah. So my question for you, Garrett, as a first-time player and your early 20s, what did you think of D&D? What did you think of D&D before and then after?
So before, it's like this stereotypical super nerdy game.
Yeah.
That I don't know what I thought before. The only representation I'd seen of it in shows or anything, I think, was actually in Stranger Things, and that was last year too. And they were all sitting around. They had the little miniatures and everything.
Yeah.
And they had a map. And I guess what I was expecting was, well, I don't know actually. I guess I was expecting something like Stranger Things. We'll have this big map, miniatures, but we were all playing over Skype, so we couldn't really do that.
There's programs and stuff that play it like that, and there are people that play it like that, but we always just played with pen and paper.
Yeah, I mean the grid is very helpful for keeping track of people's positions in battles, but other than that, I don't believe it's really necessary for dungeon crawling or for adventuring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the first experience, whenever it was just, I don't know, it's a story. It's all in your imagination. You can't physically see anything whenever you're doing it over Skype. I mean, some people do have the maps, the figurines, and everything, so it's a little bit easier. But still, doing it over Skype and just imagining it. I had a piece of paper that I would write on to remember certain parts, but it was fun because it's just a story that you play in your head that you customize to how you want to play.
Yeah. Oh, this is gonna sound like the most nerdiest thing ever, but like I always thought of it of just like a video game, but like there's no end to the possibilities that can happen. Like there'll never be a video game that like you can do as much as you can do in D&D.
Yeah, but again, D&D, I feel like you can't be as I don't know, you can't I want to say you can't have as much fun playing D&D as you can a video game. Maybe it's just because video games you control a lot. I feel like you control a lot more than what you do in D&D.
Mm. But yeah, it
Although,
depends on the game.
yeah. Although D&D
I don't
is
know.
very customizable, so
Yeah, also D&D, I mean, the actions that you can take as a player, you're pretty much only limited by your imagination, essentially.
Yeah,
and what the DM will allow.
pretty
Right.
much.
But if the DM allows everything, then what's the point of the game?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, why can't I have Wish at level 1 just because I want Wish? Why,
Well,
Eric?
because that breaks the game, and then it's no fun.
Yeah.
Why can't we just play on easy mode like on Skyrim and I can just one-shot things?
Well, because then you might take an arrow to the knee.
Oh, dead memes. Dead memes.
Uh,
Oh boy. Okay, well, we've all been players. I guess you haven't played as much as us, Garrett. But favorite
well,
classes.
well, okay. Well,
You
I mean,
start, Eric.
I was gonna bring up the fact that I've been playing D&D for more than half my life.
Yeah.
I basically got into it in my freshman year of high school, which was in 2000, which was
Jesus,
when
you're old.
D&D third edition had just come out that year. So that was the version I started playing. We also went back and played AD&D second edition, which is basically the version of it that everybody played throughout the 90s. And since then, I've mostly been playing third edition and then later 3.5, but I've almost always exclusively been a DM, except for the very first campaigns that I played where I was a player. And in that campaign, I played a wizard, specifically a necromancer. So, for lack of experience with other classes, that by default has to be my favorite. But I do feel if I was gonna play again, I would want to be a magic user, definitely.
Yeah. Garrett.
Shall I go next?
Yeah.
I've always liked spellcasters, and specifically spellcasters that can torment the most. I like being an evil. Like, so my alignment, I feel it would be hard for me not to be chaotic.
Yeah.
And not to be chaotic. Well, I guess I'm not evil, more chaotic, like neutral. So, yeah, what I like to play is a warlock because I read that warlocks get their powers from their like deity, and my deity was like the god of death and shit. And yeah, I just like that aspect of being someone who can torture people. I don't know why.
Yeah, very sadistic.
Yeah, sadistic. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely that.
My I've played a lot of classes: cleric, warrior, druid, rogue, but barbarian. But my favorite was always a monk. I love the idea. I've always loved the idea of, in like these like animes and TV shows or whatever. Like, there's people with like magic weapons and like shooting spells and stuff. But the monk is just the monk, just him and his fists, and he's keeping up with everyone else. That's my jam. I love that crap.
We love that crap.
I love that crap. I've DM'd Couple times, but I was a kid, man. I don't think it was any good. I think I could DM. I think I could DM and be pretty decent at it. But I would also honestly just prefer to be a player.
Well, DMing is a lot of work. As a player, you basically just have to show up and play the game. As a DM, you have to do homework.
Yeah.
And that, for me, makes it harder to DM. Not that I do enjoy doing it, but what kills it for me is when there's a set schedule of when we're gonna be playing. So then I have a deadline. And if I have a deadline and I'm not in the mood to create, I have to force myself to create. And then in my mind, it's not as good because it's forced. It's not natural.
Yeah. See, I don't. That's why I think I could be a good DM because I would just think about it and be able to go back.
Yeah, but
Are you guys?
you know as well as I do, if you're on a deadline for something, it's harder to be inspired than if you're actually like you just decide you're gonna pick up and start writing.
Yeah.
Have you
No.
guys played any of the campaigns where they're written for you?
No.
I do actually own one. I own a module, as they call them, and it looks pretty fun actually, but I've never tried it. So my answer would be no, although I do own one.
So all the campaigns you ever been on have been like custom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I personally enjoyed making my own, and the few times that I did play as a player, that the DM was the same way. He wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah. If we get another one going, I would love. Maybe I'd try DMing. It'd be best if we could find someone, but I definitely want to try edition though, because 5th edition looks amazing.
It does. It looks like they took the best parts of fourth and the best parts of third and earlier, and then kind of combined them.
Yeah.
With leaving behind all the shit that made four bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5th edition does look very interesting to me. I'd be interested to try that.
For sure.
But if we're talking about D&D in general, we should kind of bring up the fact that first of all, like let's go back to when D&D first became a thing, and none of us were even born. Basically, D&D started from mail order war games, and it was usually based around World War II. Some of them were different. Some of them were Civil War and stuff like that. And all it was combat. There was no story. It was done with, a grid, and you would have miniatures to represent your tanks or your artillery, what have you, tape measures. In a way, I guess you could say it's actually in a way more similar to Warhammer than to D&D. But that's what it was. And then they started a fantasy version of this based on Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. So instead of, armies fighting each other, it's, elves and rangers and fighters and whatnot. And basically what Gary Gygax, the creator of D&D, and his partner in this, whose name is escaping me at the moment,
Dave Arneson.
There you go. Is their genius was they decided, instead of you being the army, let's have you be one of the people in the army and let's make him more like a real person. Like he's going to have an actual story and he's going to be going on an adventure.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what started D&D. And then it led into, in the 70s and 80s, and to a lesser degree, the 90s, anything you can think of, any popular franchise. Now any popular franchise gets a video game. Back then, yes, there were also video games, but any popular franchise also got a role-playing game. Star Wars had a role-playing game. Star Trek had a role-playing game.
See, the Star Trek would be all right, but Star Wars would be awesome.
I think Star Wars would be terrible compared to Star Trek.
You think so? What makes you say that?
Because Star Trek, I feel, I don't know, I guess based on the Star Trek that I know, there's a more developed story than in Star Wars, although there's actually a pretty developed story in Star Wars too. So maybe I'm just speaking out my ass.
I would just want to be a rogue, like not even a Jedi, but someone that just uses a lightsaber.
Yeah. See, I was also thinking like the specific races in Star Trek. Like, what if you could play as the Borg, or the Cardassians
Yeah.
or Klingons.
Yeah, no, Star Trek would be awesome. I'm thinking about it more because, like, back in high school, me and my friends, we belonged to a message board, and essentially this message board was like a ship, and we all had like you would make a character and post it, and like what your job was on the ship, and it was basically
Right.
like this big role play thing, and it was fucking awesome. I loved it. Um, so yeah, having a D&D like that'd be cool because you would your ship would just go around to planet and like there'd be something new every planet, just like an episode of Star Trek,
Oh, hey, didn't they try to make a game like that
like the
that failed
MMO.
miserably? Well, no, the game where you go to all these different planets and eventually try to reach the middle of the universe.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
Yes.
Fucking A, dude. I knew that
And
was gonna be garbage, but go on,
and
Eric. Go on.
when we're talking about these old role playing games, a little interesting bit of trivia is well, first of all, I'm sure you guys are probably aware of this, but for the audience that isn't, in the 80s, role playing and D&D in particular kind of became viewed in a sinister light. There were some suicides that were linked to it, some murders that were linked to it. People thought it might be a bad influence on people, which kind of parallels the hysteria around violent video games that happened in the early 2000s and continuing to this day. But a lot of these role-playing modules were made with an older audience in mind. So, for example, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing module released sometime in the 80s, and the first edition of it now is incredibly rare.
Yeah.
You could probably get thousands of dollars for it because it was almost immediately recalled and replaced with the second edition because the first edition of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game had rules on how to rape somebody.
How to
So
rape somebody?
Okay.
yeah,
What the fuck?
Well, like yeah, original Turtles was so much darker than the show that came out.
um, and
I
I'm
just
kind of
remember the Ninja Turtles. Whenever you go out or whenever you're on a date, always eat out. It just made me that's always made me laugh.
and I'm kind of disappointed that I missed a lot of this stuff because I got into role playing, like I said, very early 2000s, which was kind of, I guess you'd call it the absolute tail end of the time when everything had role playing games.
Yeah.
So most of this stuff was even before my time. Other than D&D, I did play one other one for a while. The name escapes me. I think it might have just been called Vampire, and it was basically, it wasn't based off anything in particular, but it was a very dark gothic vampire themed role play set in modern times. And also at two anime conventions in the early 2000s, I played short games, one based off Dragon Ball Z and one based off of Sailor Moon. And in the Sailor Moon one, everybody was like, all right, like, well, the best Sailor Scouts are like Venus, Jupiter, Mars. They're picking them. I'm like, no, you know what? Fuck this. I'm being Sailor Moon because it's her fucking show. And sure enough, I had like we ended up fighting like 5 enemies, and I like killed 4 of them, and the rest of them like worked together to kill one because I was ridiculously OP because I was fucking Sailor Moon. It's like, why wouldn't you be her? It's her fucking show. So.
Yeah, that's one that I just don't think really works.
Well, these were basically, these were the DBZ one and the Sailor Moon one. They were basically just for combat. They didn't really have the adventuring aspect. It was like you would play a character and have a battle
Yeah,
basically.
like, have you played any of the DBZ video games? Like they're all just combat. It's like might as well be Mortal Kombat with like Dragon Ball Z characters and less mechanics.
Yeah, well, the thing that I like about D&D is the combat is great. It's fun. It's part of, the whole package, but the whole adventuring thing is the meat and the potatoes. It's great.
Yeah, like being able to just basically go anywhere and do anything. If you want to like try to murder a town, you can try to murder a town. You're probably
Yeah.
not going to succeed, but you can do
Well,
it.
there was
If you want to rate people, like Eric said, you can rate people,
when
but it's not going to turn out well.
when we were playing, when we went to that town, and there was this kid that was going to be executed because he
God
stole. And we were like trying to figure out stuff, but then we would be rude to the townspeople, and they'd like kick us out of their homes, and it was just
Well,
such
Garrett-
a big mess, man.
Garrett kept being incredibly aggressive and rude to this guy, and then you guys were shocked that he wasn't bending over backwards to help you.
I'm sorry, that was my personality in the game.
Yeah, he was
I had
just
to
in the
ask him about
character.
how
He was in-
his wife was fucking other people. And
His
he
wife
wasn't
was
okay
fucking
with
other
his
people.
Yeah, his wife was fucking other people. And I was just asking him if he knew about it. I was trying to help him
He must have
out,
had
and he
some
didn't like it.
idea. Yeah, and it was hilarious because I think in that playthrough we didn't have any combat, but it was just like us bumbling around this town trying to be like CSI our way into it.
Yeah,
or some
like
shit.
that entire night we were just investigating like this fucking
So
stupid
poorly.
robbery.
That was your one session that didn't have a single combat at all.
There was that guy we bumped into when I thought for some reason was gonna fuck us up, so I just like
that
stalked
hobo.
him for like an hour and then jumped him.
Hey man, murder hobos are a thing. I've been following D&D on Reddit, and like all they talk about is fucking murder hobos.
Yeah.
But that brings up an interesting point that you run into as a DM. Often you find things that you believe that the player characters are going to view as significant, they completely ignore. And other times, things that mean absolutely nothing, the players will obsess over. And you're kind of sitting there thinking, like, why the fuck do you... Like, there was one in the very first session you guys played, one of the first things you found... Yeah, one of the first things they found was a stream with some old buckets next to it. So they filled up the buckets with water and like brigade them down into the dungeon with them.
They carried those buckets everywhere.
Forever.
And eventually, and they're the whole time they're kind of like, does this mean anything? Does this do anything? Finally, they run into this gelatinous cube and they decide to like throw water on it. And I'm like, the water runs off the side of the cube. And that's when they're finally like, oh, okay, the fucking buckets didn't mean anything.
They were just buckets. They were literally just fucking buckets.
Just buckets of water.
Yeah. There was I don't remember the specifics, but when I was a teenager DMing for my friends, I remember the first dungeon I made, and I was like, oh man, they're gonna be so stuck, like figuring out this puzzle and blah blah blah, and they just went right through them all, and they were like, yeah, you just put this in here, and I was like, yeah. And I thought I had like an hour's worth of stuff like written down, but we were done within like 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, that's all I had prepped. Thanks, guys. I'm an idiot, I guess.
See, I remember one session when we were playing, like Eric put this fucking electric trap or something down, and so you would touch it and something would happen, and then you touch it again, something would happen. You touched it a third time, you'd get fucked with like damage, and like it took us forever to figure it out. And then I don't remember what the solution was, but whenever we finally found the solution, it was just like, are you kidding me? We just had to I think we just had to push a pillar or something
like that.
It was, you had to do it in a specific order, and the order was written down somewhere else in the dungeon, but you just completely bypassed that area and didn't bother to explore it.
Yeah.
So when you went back and found it, you were like, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah. With that playthrough with my friends in high school, I remember I like looked through the book and I found all these like magical items because I really wanted them to like enjoy it. So I made they started like level 4 or something, and I was like, okay, they'll all get personalized like magic items, and I thought they would all like theirs,
like a everlasting vibrating dildo.
Yeah, like one I gave like a ring of like animal friend because I thought she would like, have like getting an animal friend like a bear or some shit, and they were just all like, her especially. I remember her reaction just being like, "Why do I want this? This is dumb."
Just like
And I was
just like a rat that follows her around.
well, it's like basically the ring allows you to become a companion with any animal you want. And she just was like, "This is dumb. I don't want this." And I was like, "Oh, like I didn't think about that and like read for hours magical items and shit. Thank you."
That's why
Another,
you never help the players as a DM.
I,
You always try to fuck the players over.
yeah. So one time, speaking of DMing, we had a new. This was my roommates in college, and we had one of my roommates' friends wanted to DM, and he had never DM'd before, and he shows up, and he's like, "Oh, what do you mean you made your own character sheets? Like I have your characters right here," and we were like, "What?" Like I know like sometimes people play pre-made characters, but I always like making my own character. So,
Yeah, that ruins a lot of the fun of D&D, like not
yeah.
making your own character.
And so he did that, and we decided to use our characters. And the way he DM'd was just, and like I'm not knocking him, right? Like he was never done it before, but he was really
Right.
constrictive. He was very like, "You're on this path. You're doing this," not suggestions or just telling you what's around you and then you talk it out. He was just kind of like, "You're going here and now you're doing this." Like we were barely playing, and so at the time he was like, "There, you're in this town and everyone's acting weird, and there's this cliff and there's mushrooms." And we were like, we talked to people, we couldn't figure anything out, detect magic, like we had no idea what the fuck he wanted. And I'm pretty sure looking back, he wanted us to eat the mushrooms because this guy was into drugs. And I
Right.
think he really wanted us to eat the mushrooms. But the three of us were just like, "I don't know. What do you do with a mushroom? I don't know." Like, interesting game. The thing that just made me stick out was the making the characters for us. I just, no thank you. Like, let me think of my character.
Right.
That's part of the
That's
fun of being the player.
absolutely. But you kind of brought up a memory in me. You're just mentioning one thing I've noticed about D&D is it has an incredibly massive appeal in that a lot of people that you would not expect to be into D&D like D&D. So real quick, I want to tell you easily the most interesting and bizarre game I ever DM'd was this was late when I was in high school, and my D&D days were mostly in early high school. So by late high school, I wasn't really playing it much anymore. So I made friends with this new guy, a guy who was an immigrant from India, and we were talking. I mentioned D&D to him. He was super into the idea of it and really wanted to play it. And I kept telling him, I said, well, I would DM a game for you, but it can't be just you. You have to have at least one other player. And by this time, I had lost contact. I'd had a falling out with my original D&D group. I didn't know anyone who played D&D. He didn't know anyone who played D&D. So he goes, let me ask my mom. So he asked his mom, who was like, an Indian woman in her late 30s who did not speak English, if she would play D&D with us. And she agreed. So he made her a character, and we played with me DMing. And when I would describe the scene, he would then translate for her into Tamil so that she would know what was going on. And when she wanted her character to do something, she would say it in him to Tamil, and then he would translate it to me in English.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would have the patience for that, honestly.
Yeah,
That sounds like a lot of
that
yeah.
would
It
make
was.
the
I mean, it
games
was.
last so long. You get
It was.
nothing
It
done.
was. It was difficult, but he really just wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
So I basically just set up a dungeon for them to explore. So there wasn't going to be a lot of them running around talking to townspeople, finding the dungeon. It was like, okay, you're here in the dungeon. What are you going to do? Type of thing.
Yeah. see, growing up, our dad played D&D with us, and he was great at it. That was awesome, but I couldn't imagine Mom playing D&D.
Well, according to her, she played it when she was a teenager because she was a teenager when that shit was just coming out. So,
True, yeah.
I think most people that if they actually sat down and tried to play D&D, they would like it. Because I mean, it's just the story that you're a part of.
Yeah, no,
I would agree.
honestly,
And there's actually there's a great video on YouTube that I know we've all seen of Vin Diesel and a bunch of other people playing D&D.
Yeah, Vin Diesel is a huge D&D nerd. But yeah, like even like the party people at my work at the bar, like if they were like open-minded and sat down and like actually tried to play, I guarantee you they would have a good time. Like I really think it's something that anyone could have a good time doing. Because
well, I don't think
essentially you're just sitting around conversing and talking, and
I don't think anyone could have fun with it because I don't think that applies to anything. But I think out of any possible form of entertainment, almost maybe other than like card games, I think a large segment of the population, like you say, would enjoy it if they gave it a chance.
D&D is way better than card games.
Well, I'm talking about mass appeal. I'm saying that almost everybody in the world has played a card game at some point.
It's just something that like there's so many aspects to it that you're gonna enjoy something. Like maybe someone's really only gonna like the combat, or maybe someone's gonna like just shooting the shit. Like, sorry,
just talking to the bartender in the village, seeing what the local gossip's about. And maybe trying to roll that D20 to see if you can get laid that night.
Yeah, maybe some will just want to ride around on a horse with their hand down their pants, picking their nuts. I mean, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
Sorry,
that actually sounds kind of boring, Eric.
The Doritos I were eating before the podcast decided to choke me.
Coming back to haunt you.
Yeah, holy crap.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't eat Doritos anymore. And crunch the loud bag in your fucking mic.
Fine. Oh, man.
It's a D&D episode. You should have been eating Cheetos and drinking Mountain Dew.
Okay, well, fun fact. I won this bag of chips with the pizza I ordered last night, and I selected Cheetos. So when the pizza gets here, in the bag was fucking Doritos.
We didn't have any Cheetos.
Yeah, I remember you fucking bitching about it last night. You're like, oh, they didn't give me my hot Cheetos.
I really wanted hot Cheetos. I was so excited for those hot Cheetos. I got like Doritos nachos. Like I'm tired of those, man.
So let's I want to mention real quick that Garrett brought up Stranger Things, where they play D&D in it.
Morgan.
There's been I guess there hasn't been that many references or scenes where you see people playing D&D in TVs and movies, but I feel like we have to mention first of all the Community episode where they play D&D.
I was just gonna go, maybe it's an elf or a leprechaun.
And of course, E.T., where they're playing D&D at the beginning, and then they reference it several times later in the movie. Like a joke I never got as a kid, but the kid who is the DM at one point starts insulting Elliot by calling him zero charisma. Yeah. And then I realized later, oh, it's a D&D reference.
See, that's such a burn. Such a sick D&D burn. The thing I like about the E.T.
And he says it so like hate-filled. He's like, zero charisma.
Yeah, like that's not a burn. Oh my god. Charisma is like kind of the most useless stat unless you're like a bard or something. But anyways, they're arguing because the one kid is playing an undead character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do they say? What are they arguing about?
I don't remember the exact argument. I remember they're arguing about a portable hole and exactly what they can do with that. I don't remember the undead thing, but the thing you mentioned is later when E.T.'s trying to like tell his or E.T. When Elliot's trying to tell his family that he saw E.T. outside and the brother's kind of fucking with him, and he's like, maybe it was a pervert or a deformed kid or something. And E.T. just keeps getting, Elliot keeps getting angrier and angrier. And eventually the brother's just like, maybe it was an elf or a leprechaun.
There's something about someone playing as an undead character, and that's awesome because I don't think that's very common for people to play anything other than like the set races. And okay, like undead isn't really a race, but it's something different.
I'm gonna get super fucking nerdy here, but in the movie, I don't know if this was to avoid copyright or for another reason, but they refer to the kid who's the DM. They call him a GM, which stands for Game Master, which is a generic term for games other than D&D, the person who runs the game.
Yeah.
So you can either believe they were playing D&D and they called him GM to avoid copyright, or that they were playing a different RPG. Yeah.
Okay. The community episode is amazing because I thought they were going to do segments of, in-game, like they would be dressed up or it'd be cartoon or something, but they did it where it's literally just them talking, which is D&D. And I thought that was awesome.
Some people bitch about that episode. They're like, "Oh, they didn't accurately portray how D&D works." And it's like, well, I mean, do you really expect them to? You know what I mean?
I thought it was a
some
good
people
enough...
do play D&D that way, maybe. I haven't seen the episodes, so I don't know.
A pretty good portrayal as for TV's sake.
Right, it was something
minutes.
It was something a normie could understand. It's not like they were gonna. What's with that?
4chan's coming out of you, man.
All right, settle down, Spaz.
We're just the plebs over here, Mike. Yeah. We're just the normies.
Oh, I'm a normie for sure. I don't even Reddit and 4chan. I don't look at.
Anyways, the point is they were doing it in a way that a person who wasn't familiar with D&D could understand. Yeah. Whereas if they were trying to be super accurate, people would be like, what the fuck is going on here?
They didn't ask for, scores, and I don't think they rolled dice that often, but, it was essentially D&D.
Can you roll initiative?
Yeah, exactly.
You failed. I don't know. It was a good episode. Fuck the haters.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Those three examples we gave, that's the only thing coming. Well, Futurama, actually, they had Gary Gygax in an episode. And at the end of the episode, they end up in limbo when they decide to play D&D for the next 2,000 years or something like that.
Dude, that would be heaven for me.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be limbo. That'd be awesome. Just playing D&D over and over again, like a new campaign. I mean, it would kind of suck if it was the same campaign, but then again, even if it's the same campaign, you could just do things differently.
Because you get to insane high levels, and you have to make up your own shit, or you just start over.
And the only other one I can think of is in season 5 of The Simpsons, the episode where Homer goes to college and rooms with a bunch of nerds. And he's telling his family about it, and he's like, we played Dungeons and Dragons for 4 hours. Then I was slain by an elf.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's a thing that always bothered me about Futurama was there was, except for the robot, I forget his name, but there was no new...
Bender?
No. You'll when I say this.
Okay, all right.
There was no new celebrities. There were just celebrities from the 90s and the 2000s in jars. And there's the robots that star on that drama.
Calculon,
yeah. But other than that, there was no new celebrities and shit. It's funny, jars and heads, but why not have the celebrities play made up new celebrities? Why?
But you love Calculon, Mike.
Yeah, I love Calculon.
All My Circuits is your favorite show.
Yes, I watch it religiously, but it's just something that always bothered me about Futurama. I guess I'm alone in this one.
I mean, I never thought about that, actually. So...
And it's starting to boil your blood a little.
No, I think it's fine actually.
Well, I mean, it's a joke, but I see what you're saying in the sense that, like, some fucknut who was in a play 1,000 years ago, we wouldn't give a shit if his head was in a jar in a movie now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, like Leonard Nimoy. Okay, no, that episode's great, but like I don't know, just have them be a new character within this universe. Like, why does it have to be them as themselves?
Because it's less character development, for a 22, 25-minute show.
No, and then
They have to develop a character.
And didn't they have like dead presidents? And it's like,
Yeah,
so
they
you
had all the dead
clone them?
presidents.
You clone them to make them jars and heads.
Yeah, something like that.
Nixon
Heads and
Because
jars.
Nixon was president of the world.
as a jar and a head, though.
I love when he's like doing an address to the world and he's just like, all right, put down your beer bongs and your crack pipes and listen up. You're such an asshole. But it's like something he would say, so it's amazing.
Futurama.
Great
Anyways,
show.
getting a bit off topic here.
Well, that's all right.
Well, it's
all
all
right
right
to get
but...
a little off the road and onto the beaten path. Going a little adventure, maybe a little dungeon crawling, and a little tangents, huh? A little back and forth.
Maybe we'll find a dragon with treasure.
Treasure. The treasure is at YouTube revenue. Oh.
And the dragon is all the people not listening. We have to go out and kill everyone who's not listening.
All the people not listening.
So speaking of dragons, does anybody have a favorite dragon? Because D&D has like, what, 30-something species?
I just started playing. I don't even know all the different dragons. I know there was one dragon, and it was like the fucking acid dragon that we killed.
But Garrett, you do like dragons, right?
Dragons. Yeah, dragons are cool. What if I
was dragging my balls across your face?
Oh, hey.
I would slay them Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls.
And then I'd sell them, but then the shopkeeper would probably be like, these are worthless. There's nothing in them.
Yeah, when I fucking scaled a dragon and was like, does anyone, you could use these, and everyone's just like, nah, I don't need those, and it's like, you scales. No, I gave them to I gave something to a homeless kid.
Things like the dragon teeth or something, or like the dragon eyeballs. We took a lot of shit off that dragon.
We basically left its skeleton, but now that I'm thinking about it, we should have taken the bones.
I'm pretty sure we did take the bones, or at least part of the bones. We took the hand because you made the fucking monk fist out of it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, I mean, you guys seem to think that every single part of this dragon was going to be worth like
hundreds. It's a magical creature.
They're, like, impossible
yes, but
to kill.
And it was a young one. It was everything's magical.
Yes, but it's D&D. It's not like nobody's seen a fucking dragon before.
Yeah, but
no one kills them every day.
Oh, come on down to my dragon farm. Yeehaw! No, like it's a fucking dragon.
Yeah, come on, man. Like those are fucking expensive parts. That's like saying
more gold.
Well,
on my fictional character that I don't even play anymore, Eric. I deserve more gold for that slaying of that dragon.
I let you sell the scales and some other shit. I wasn't
dragon's face with an uppercut.
I was just not willing to allow you to sell like a juvenile dragon's teeth for like $500 fucking dollars. I thought that was ridiculous.
I punched a dragon
it was
so hard
Eric
in the face that it died. All right.
I think actually my magic missiles and summoned pets did most of the work. You're welcome.
No, but I love the fucking idea that's just like a dude and he just punched a dragon and it's like, ow, my face. Now I am dead. Dragon impersonation.
What about the magic missiles?
Yeah, I guess they did. All right.
Fuck, I carried you in that campaign. I did all the work. Remember that one time?
Useful.
Whenever
you were pretty useful.
Remember that very first combat we were in? You couldn't do shit. You couldn't even punch the thing.
That was an error with the DM. He's like, "Don't."
That was not an error. That was not
and I'm like,
that was not an error with the DM. Hello. How was that an error with the DM? I wasn't going to break the rules and let you have Key Fist at level 3 or whatever the
You
fuck
were
it
like,
was.
oh, I thought you already had key fists.
Well, I don't know. I guess I expected you to actually read up on the character you were playing.
But that's a good thing to bring up.
I mean,
So
I'm not an
no. Let me go on. Let me go
encyclopedia.
on. So in that battle, we were fighting Gelatinous Cube, and there was me, a monk, Garrett was a wizard, and our friend was a cleric. And the cleric was knocked down and was in danger of getting consumed by this gelatinous cube. And me, well, sometimes in combat you're not gonna be able to do anything really, like to attack and do damage. So with D&D in combat, you can do other stuff. So with my turn,
Like run away.
you can run away. With my turn, I grabbed the cleric and pulled him back out of the ooze's reach. And
Right.
I love that of D&D. Like if there's like a chandelier over like the group of goblins you're fighting, you know,
Magic missiles that bitch and kill them all.
yeah, and it falls down and it crushes them all. You're not just
It's not just like face
confined to
tanking
this.
everything.
Yeah.
You can look for other solutions to combat.
Yeah,
And like you don't
right.
even like say like if we did have charisma or something high and we could speak to goblins or something,
Yeah,
we
you
could
talk
like
your way out of it.
basically we could dodge combat altogether. But fuck that, dude. You want to kill goblins and take their fingers
Yeah, it's
because
not
their fingers are magical.
it's not like Fallout where you would get experience for doing the barter way. You would not get experience. I think you only get experience for killing in D&D.
No, not at all. The DM can
Uh,
award experience however he sees fit. It
Because
can be
I think the one session whenever we didn't fight at all, we got
Yeah,
experience.
We
you did get
did.
experience
Okay,
for
yeah,
that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong. I love you. No, not at all.
Oh, Eric is
No,
quite knowledgeable on the
no. He's wagging his finger at his mic.
subject.
I took that really seriously for some reason.
Because Eric doesn't want to be
Silly
known as the bad
mortal.
DM.
Silly. That's like I know you've heard this, Mike. I don't know if Garrett has, but there's these two great sketches online by this comedy group from the early '90s, the Dead Alewives, who did like two mock D&D games as comedy. And the best part is in the second one where the DM starts basically going on a power trip. And he's like, I'm the dungeon master. I control universes.
Yeah.
You drink a potion, I brewed it.
Which
So he's the god of his world.
the guy that was a part of that group wrote for.
Well, he created Community.
That's
Dan
a
Harmon.
full circle, man. Full circle. Episode over. We did it.
Wait, Dan Harmon? Is that the guy that also does Rick and Morty?
Yeah. Yeah, that guy is fucking fire these days, man. People
Dude,
are
what a
loving that
talented person.
Though I wasn't the biggest fan of the season 3 episode 1.
Well, it's the fucking opening, man. Fucking give him some time.
Yeah, I know.
Like that's like saying you didn't like the new Gorillaz album just for that one Hallelujah Money. Like it's like
God.
Gorillaz album still has great songs on it.
Okay, Hallelujah Money and fucking Sex Murder Party. Like what the hell were they thinking? Those songs are awful. I love the Gorillaz.
They were just trying
I
it
love
out.
the album, but like a couple of songs on there, and like okay, like not every album by every fucking person is all of it is good. There are a few albums where every song is good. What is it called? Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. Graduation
Mac
by
was a
Kanye
garbage
West.
band. Kanye West is a piece of shit human being.
Another great album where every song is good is this one is Drawing a Blank, but it's by Haste the Day and it's fucking great.
I would also say Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears, but go on.
You guys have weird ass bands.
Did you say
Like
good
what
ass
about
bands?
I said weird ass. What about Avenged Sevenfold and their self-titled album?
Also, it's a bit too early to say because it just came out a couple months ago, but I'm thinking Graduation by Sunglasses Kid might be one of those albums.
Okay, Avenged Sevenfold. See, I like City of Evil, dude. But that's just me.
Is Avenged Sevenfold that band where they have that song where it goes like, ooh, wah, ah, ah, ah?
No, that's fucking Disturbed, and that's every single one of their songs.
Oh.
Come on.
Well, I don't know. Whenever I hear that song, I just think of like the late 90s and a bunch of kids beating the shit out of each other with skateboards.
That's what we did in the late 90s. But the Hasted Day. Hasted Day is like this hardcore Christian band, but that one album that I can't remember the title is fucking amazing. Every song, 10 out of 10.
Okay, but like try to find a bad song in the self-titled Avenged Sevenfold. Critical Acclaim, Almost Easy, Scream, Afterlife, Gunslinger,
Oh,
Unbound,
yeah. Okay,
Prompt,
that is a
Cocktail,
great album.
Lost, Little Piece of Heaven, Dear God. Like all those songs are fucking amazing.
Yeah, but so is City of Evil.
I mean, yeah, City of Evil is good too. City of Evil has Beast in the Heart, yeah.
Yeah, now
I
you're
mean,
reading
they're
it.
both
And,
great.
yeah, they are great. Fucking Avenged Sevenfold's great band.
At least in their
Also,
movies,
I
their
can't.
albums have been kind of just mediocre, couple of hits, but
Yeah.
Also, I can't believe I forgot "Meet the Chipmunks" by Alvin and the Chipmunks. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
well, come on.
You want to
Alvin,
talk about
Simon,
you want to talk about
Theodore.
something that I wore out the fucking needle on the record player for?
Well, okay,
Man,
but you know,
I used to fucking crack a 40,
okay.
light a joint, and just blow my head off with that
But
shit.
Eric, I don't know if you
Blow-
remember, but we literally used to have a child-sized record player with a fucking Alvin the Chipmunks record.
I do remember that.
It was like in Dad's house.
I
shit,
remember
you guys
that.
are so old. Who had record players?
Dude, we had a
I
computer.
still have a record player.
What computer was it? A Commodore
Because
64 or
vinyl is
something?
superior than to any other form of.
Eric, what was the computer we
It was
had?
it was a Tandy.
That's a
Tandy.
fucking lie.
Garrett,
It's not a lie. It's actually verifiably true.
That's a lie. But
this
whatever.
Garrett, this computer we used to have like ran off of like the big floppy disks, and it would take like 8 minutes to boot up, and there was like
Dude, that computer was already old when we were kids. That was something that like they owned from like time.
No, I that's what I'm saying though, is like that was our first computer, and holy fuck, I remember like the Paint program.
That actually wasn't our first computer. You might even be too young to remember this, but we used to own an Atari 800.
Yeah, okay, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, go on.
No, I remember the Paint program being like garbage, but like spending hours on it. Like there was no mouse or anything. You would use the
Well, that was-
arrow keys.
That was before we were spoiled by the internet, you know?
Yes, you know,
Yeah.
I would spend many a days outside playing with friends, you know, going for hikes, you know.
Yeah, do kids still go
I
outside
would
these
play,
days?
You know, I'd play some of my Super Nintendo or my N64, and
But we'd also
you know, I
play
would put it
we'd also
down.
play jacks and
Yeah.
pogs and
you know,
Bumblety
you would
Peg.
put down the Super Nintendo, and be, you know what, I'm gonna go outside. But then the internet came out, and it was like, well, now I can just rotate video games, internet, and now, well, now I have all my video games on my computer, so now I just don't even leave my fucking computer.
And now I'm a worthless piece of shit with no reason to exist.
Exactly.
Whoa, holy shit, I went dark.
Yeah, well,
We're all just, you know, sheep living in this fucking constructed life that was forced upon us. I tried to go into a rant there, but I got nothing.
I have a pretty nihilistic view on life where nothing really we do matters, but I mean,
Oh, we're all just dust in the wind.
we're all just stars. We're stardust.
just like Moby
Stars-
says, we're all made of
Stars died.
stars.
One of my favorite quotes from this one scientist. He's drawing a blank in my head right now. I can see his face. But he said, "We're all stars dust. We're all stars dust. We're all stardust. So the stars
David
died."
Bowie.
God, he's not a fucking scientist. God, now you ruined it. I'm trying to get this quote out, and you're ruining it.
Get it out. Come on. Push.
We're all just stardust. The stars died so you could be here. Oh wait, no, I ruined it again. Let's just end it. Whatever. I don't even quite care.
This is what we would need the soundboard for, because now you would play.
Oh, would you shut up with the
You
goddamn
would play
soundboard?
or like the audience going, oh.
Hey, okay, I found it. His name is Lawrence Krauss. So
Let's end it with this.
every atom in your body came from a star that exploded, and the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand. It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. You're all stardust. You couldn't be here if the stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution and life weren't created at the beginning of time. They were created in the nuclear furnaces of stars. And the only way for them to get into your body is if those stars were kind enough to explode. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today.
Okay, yeah, you had that quote completely wrong.
I was just trying to get like the last two I was just trying to get the Jesus part in, man. I'm sorry.
So, no, I was gonna make a masturbation joke, but that's too lowbrow for this show.
Yeah, come on. We're classy.
I was gonna say, like, my right hand, Adam, has much more cum stained on it, but
Well, the right hand knows what the left hand's doing.
I wasn't gonna make a masturbation joke,
and then I just made it anyway.
Here we go.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Well, with any luck, you'll end up with two eyes on your balls and a nose on your cock, and you can smell what you're looking at. So thanks for joining us once again on Neon Nightcast.
Holy shit.
Good night. Jesus,
see you next time.
Louises.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus died.